What's happening, Internet? It is Mad Maximus coming at you with my first official video of 2024. Happy New Year to all of you. I know that is a bit of a redundant statement considering that we're way past January. But like I said, this is my first video for the year, so very kindly shut the fuck up. Anyways, this is the first episode of a new series that I am calling Geek of the Week, or Weeks. The reason there is an S in brackets in the title is because this may be a weekly show, but life gets in the way sometimes, so I may not be able to get one out every week. So I may be covering, the past week or a past couple of weeks. But I will be covering all the things that are pop culture relevant in this series and giving you my unabridged thoughts on them. So for today, we're going to be covering what has been happening the past 2 weeks, I think. So without further ado, let's finally dig in to the first episode of Geek of the Week. What is first on our agenda? It is the Super Bowl trailers. Let's have a look.
X gon' give it to you. Wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver.
So our first trailer that we're going to look into is probably my favorite one, which is Deadpool 3. Oh my god, how I have been waiting for this trailer. Now, initially I had a few concerns about Disney taking over Deadpool just because a lot of Disney's Marvel projects lately I feel have been a bit more on the recline and haven't been as good quality-wise. So with Deadpool, I was really hoping, keep it R-rated and let's make sure that we are staying true to the core of Deadpool. And of course, we open it with a pegging joke, and that is amazing. That is exactly what I wanted. Interestingly, we see a lot of characters from the past 2 Deadpool movies returning. Deadpool's been messing around with time, so I guess he brought a few people back, including Vanessa. So I am pretty excited to see how all that pans out. Speaking of which, time travel-wise, it is perfect that we are throwing in the TVA, of course. The TVA, we saw them in Loki. If Deadpool's been messing with time, it's only fair that the TVA comes in to make sure that Deadpool's not screwing things up, and I love that. So Deadpool meeting the TVA, that's going to be so much fun. Overall, this trailer was a blast. I had so much fun with it. I loved the jokes that Deadpool makes about the MCU, about how he's going to save the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's so meta, and it really is true. I feel like Deadpool is going to be probably the saving grace of Marvel this year. The Marvel Jesus joke had me in stitches. So fucking funny. And honestly, the trailer doesn't give all that much away. I mean, we get to see a bit of the tone. We know that it's very much the Deadpool tone. It is, very vulgar. It is very over the top. There is some violence. There's actual blood being spilt in a Marvel movie. I am so excited to see that. Deadpool is killing left and right. So for the most part, it looks like Deadpool is untouched by, the Disney effect. He is very much still the crude, lovable Deadpool that we all know and love. And I'm just excited to see how much further they can go with it. Then there are my thoughts on Wolverine. We know that this is now called Deadpool and Wolverine. How do I feel? Well, I'm of two minds about it. Obviously, Hugh Jackman is one of my acting idols. He is legendary in the role of Wolverine. There's been no one else except him in the role. He is so good. But having him return, it feels a little bit like nostalgia bait. And I was very comfortable with Logan being the official last time we ever see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, as that was the end of his character. For the audience, I was really hoping that we would say goodbye to the Fox X-Men era. We'll keep Deadpool, but Wolverine and everything else with Hugh Jackman, we would start fresh. We would have Deadpool meet the new Wolverine, the MCU Wolverine, that gets to don the comic book costume that we love so much. But instead, it's Hugh Jackman wearing it. And so that kind of spoils what MCU Wolverine could have done differently. But either way, look, a Hugh Jackman Wolverine that swears a lot and has to deal with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad we don't see too much of him in this trailer as well. I like that we just see a little snippet of him picking up Deadpool and Deadpool not wanting anything to do with him because he knows that he probably doesn't like him. So I think overall, this trailer is really great. It's a great teaser trailer. It gives us a taste of what Deadpool is going to be. And I'm just really excited to see it. There's not much else I can say, but Ryan Reynolds, you are, yes, Marvel Jesus. You are our Messiah. Please bring the MCU back to its glory. Now we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, no, I wasn't even aware this movie was happening for a long time. I just heard it in someone else's video about movies they were looking forward to this year, and I saw that this was coming up. I had no idea. I really thought we finished the whole Planet of the Apes trilogy. But no, here we've got another one, a continuation still. It's still in the same universe as Andy Serkis's run as Caesar. So my thoughts on the franchise overall, Planet of the Apes, the first one is from the 1960s, is one of my favorite films of all time. It is a sci-fi classic with Charlton Heston. I love it. I love the practical effects of the ape costumes and makeup. It was amazing. It was a tour de force. The sequels were pretty hit and miss. Then you had, the one remake in 2001, Tim Burton's one. Less said, the better. But the trilogy that we had with Andy Serkis, that we had, like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, that trilogy was amazing. Andy Serkis's performance as Caesar was absolutely amazing. The motion capture was brilliant. I loved it. I thought the trilogy wrapped up pretty nicely. I don't necessarily really need a sequel. I think, after 3 movies, it was good. We don't need it much more. But this is Hollywood, so if it makes money and it got good reviews, it's going to get a sequel. So here we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We have the trailer. What do I think? Hey, it looks good. It looks interesting, I have to say. The concept that now, Caesar is presumably dead, has been dead for a while, and now the apes have taken a new leadership and they choose to see humans as lesser than them, as submissive creatures that are dumb and have absolutely no role in society than to be captured by the apes. So it's a far more, the thematic there is a lot more about, prejudice. It very much is becoming what we know from the original Planet of the Apes. But I do like the idea of a new ape coming in who I think might be Caesar's kid, I don't know, or grandchild. That's speculation. I know nothing, but could be. Called Noah, and how he believes that humans should not be treated as less than apes. We're stronger together, and I like that we're calling back that we're, apes together strong, but apes and humans together are strong as well. So I like that idea, and we have the girl playing, what was her name, Nova. It's the girl from The Witcher. She's playing her. She was very good in The Witcher, so I'm excited to see her here. It looks like there's going to be some good action, and yeah, overall I'm intrigued to see what this movie is going to be like, because the trailer has at least sold me on having my butt in a seat watching this in the theater. I'll definitely be there. Not much else I can say, but the effects look great. The action looks very stellar, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Let's hope for the best.
Defying gravity with you and I, defying gravity.
Now we're moving on to Wicked. This one I have been intrigued by for a while because I love the original Wicked. It's one of my favorite musicals. I love the themes of, accepting yourself, being true to who you are, fighting against, the establishment, and the allegories of racism and, the different species, and how they flesh out the world of The Wizard of Oz. To me, it is a much better way of how to do a sympathetic villain as opposed to something like Maleficent, my personal opinion. But, Defying Gravity, what a banger. It's really hard to get more classic than Idina Menzel. But yeah, so this movie, I hadn't seen anything, any photos, set photos or anything. I don't think they'd released much. So I was really intrigued to see what the trailer was going to be like. And like most of the trailers, it doesn't reveal much, which is good because trailers shouldn't. but it looks amazing. The visuals look fantastic. The practical effects look good, and I hope to see more of that in the movie. Cynthia Erivo, I don't know if I'm getting her name right, but she looks great as Elphaba. She can act really well. She can sing beautifully, so I'm really excited to hear her do Defying Gravity, and we get a hint of that, and she's already great at it. Playing Glinda, we have Ariana Grande, who used to act, in Victorious, so I hope her acting has progressed since then, but I know that she can sing like nobody's business, so she'll do a good job with that. We have Michelle Yeoh in there. She's everywhere now, and I'm really excited about her. She's great. Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz is the most perfect casting ever. I love that. I love that we're getting his weirdness in here. And I love how they're doing the wizard, the mechanical face. I feel like it's all been updated, and we're going to get to see the Wizard of Oz maybe closer to the way it was in the book. But mainly, I'm just excited to see Wicked become more mainstream so everyone can hear about it, because it is such a good musical, and it looks very much faithful to what the musical was about and how it's supposed to look. So all I can say is I'm there, and I'm going to be singing along. Hopefully the whole audience will too, so I don't look weird. But hey, if I look weird, who cares? I'm excited for Wicked. Not much else to say. It looks great. And lastly, the last Super Bowl trailer that I will be covering in great depth is A Quiet Place Day 1. I love the original two Quiet Place films. They are beautifully written and directed by John Krasinski. I mean, who knew? They're well acted by him and Emily Blunt, and then we had Cillian Murphy and Jimon Hounsou in the second film, and I thought the second film was a great sequel as well. And I think it's just a really great, thrilling world to be a part of. This one is going to be a prequel to the first film. I know apparently we're getting a third one as well that is continuing on from the second film, but this will be the prequel, so we actually get to see what it was like when these monsters, alien monsters, first invaded our planet, and how humans had to adjust and figure out how sound is what attracts these creatures and how to not make a lot of noise. Honestly, just like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I don't feel like we need this movie, really. I feel like we got what we needed, and there's not much else, not much else story to tell. But we're going to get a continuation nonetheless. John Krasinski is directing this, and the other guy, I can't remember his name, he is the director. He also wrote with John Krasinski, and he's directing this, so hopefully there will be a nice, takeover and that is seamless and that stays true to the core of this franchise. Lupita Nyong'o's in it. She's great in everything, so I'm really going to enjoy seeing her. We have Joseph Quinn, who is going to be part of the next subject we're talking about. You don't know why, but he's Eddie Munson from Stranger Things, and I'm intrigued to see what he's like in another role. Digimon Hounsou is back, and I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see how the world evolves when these creatures first attack and how we figure out not to attract them. And hopefully it's going to be a great, thrilling chapter to the franchise. And like all the rest of these trailers, not much else to say, which is great, but it looks thrilling and it looks like it's well directed, and I can't wait to see what direction it goes in. Before we move on, I just want to throw some honorable mentions out there for the other Super Bowl trailers that I'm not going to go into much detail. We have Inside Out 2. Looks amazing because we have anxiety as one of the emotions coming in. That's going to be hilarious. We have Kung Fu Panda 4. I need to rewatch the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, but I do remember that it was so much fun and that I love Jack Black in anything. So I'm really excited for that. We have Monkey Man, that is Dev Patel's new sort of John Wick style action revenge film set in India. Looks pretty fun, looks very interesting, very thrilling, and I've never seen stuff that he's actually, had more of a creative part in terms of writing or directing, so I'm intrigued to see what he does with it. And Moana 2, animated. I'm not excited about live action Moana, but I'm not going to go into detail about that. I'm just going to say Moana 2. I love the first one. Being from New Zealand, I love that we got to see more Polynesian culture represented, even if it isn't any exact Polynesian culture, but it was great. And Moana 2 looks like it's going to be fun. And those are all the Super Bowl trailers for today. They all look really good. They all look like they've got some fun to be had in them. And they don't reveal too much because for the most part, they're teaser trailers. So they just give us a good indication of the tone, and they don't reveal too many plot details. And no trailers should. We should always go into a movie with a little bit of mystery. And these are the only trailers I'd really want to see for any of these films. So I don't think I'll watch any more. If there's a trailer 2 for Wicked, I was happy with the first one. So I'm just excited to go see all these movies and actually give more in-depth thoughts on what I think of them. We'll have to wait and see.
That's why your love keep on lifting me higher, higher and higher.
And now we finally have the Fantastic Four casting for the new MCU Fantastic Four. Wow, this has been a long time coming, and beautifully put out on an Instagram post in that whole 60s artwork style. I loved that. And now I have to give my thoughts, but to start off, I have to talk about the elephant in the room. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, they are not going to be our Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, and that makes me sad. Because I loved seeing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange. Even if it was brief, he looked like he could have played a great Mr. Fantastic. And him and Emily Blunt would have been great in the roles of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. But we're just not getting that. Can't have everything you want in life sometimes. But what did we get? I feel like we got the next best thing. We have Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. My boy Pedro, my Latino soul brother, as a fellow Latino. I loved him. I love him in everything he does. I love him in The Mandalorian. Not season 3, but most of it. I loved him in that. I love him in The Last of Us. He is so good. And him as Mr. Fantastic, I mean, look, is it the most creative, out of left field casting? No, he's the man of the hour. He's going to get everything. So, yeah, it's only fair he gets Mr. Fantastic. But how do I feel? I mean, he's a great actor, so he's going to do a great job. And for people saying, look, Mr. Fantastic isn't traditionally a Latin guy, he is a white guy. Look, all I have to say on that is, if the character's ethnicity is vital to the character, then yes, we should cast just like the ethnicity is in the comic books. But if ethnicity is not vitally important to the main character, then it's not a big deal. And I can't think of any Fantastic Four story where Mr. Fantastic's ethnicity as a white guy has been a major thing or a major piece of the story. And it's not a major part of his character. So I don't care. Pedro Pascal will do a great job. Next up, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Invisible Woman. I mean, again, next best thing. She is great. I've loved seeing her coming up in all the stuff she's been doing in Mission Impossible. She's shown that she can do action. And, she said it would be an honor to be Sue Storm, and here she is. And I think she looks exactly like the comic book character. I still would have loved to see her as Emma Frost in X-Men as the White Queen. But as Sue Storm, she's going to kick ass. I can totally see her taking charge and being that badass, takes no shit, hates a bully, Sue Storm. And her going off on everyone else for acting childish, I think she's going to do great. And I can't wait to see her. And we have, who I mentioned before, Joseph Quinn, Eddie Munson from Stranger Things, as Johnny Storm. I like this casting. I mean, he's close enough in age to Tom Holland so we can have, Johnny Storm and Peter Parker be best friends. Joseph Quinn himself, I mean, he's great as Eddie Munson in Stranger Things, who's the cocky character who's kind of a goof and makes jokes. Yeah, I mean, that'll translate perfectly fine to Johnny Storm. I haven't really seen Joseph Quinn in anything else, so it's a little hard for me to judge, but he is going to be in A Quiet Place Day 1, so we'll get to see a little bit of his acting range there if we're if we have any doubts. And he's a good-looking guy. He's young. Everyone loves him. You know, fans go gaga for him. So I think him as Johnny Storm, it's perfect. I hope he'll do a good job, and I'm excited to see where he takes the role. And lastly, we have The Thing, who is going to be played by Ebon Moss-Backrack from The Bear. I first saw him actually as Micro in season 1 of The Punisher. He was Microchip. I don't know if anyone remembers. I loved him in that role. So for me, it's a little weird that, you know, as much as we know, the Netflix shows are starting to become canon to the MCU, but we don't know how much yet. Clearly, Microchip, you know, he was only in 1 season of The Punisher, so we won't have to worry, I guess, about him being the Thing in the MCU as well. I don't know how it all works, but I would have loved to have seen him again as Microchip in another season of The Punisher. But if he's not going to show back up as that, I think he's going to be great as Ben Grimm, the Thing. If you've seen him in The Bear, great show, by the way. You should watch it. He is great in that show. He is so good. He has got, you know, like the whole Jewish, Italian-American vibe, you know, of a New Yorker, even though that show's set in Chicago, but he can do New Yorker. And, you know, he's got the tough guy, but with a soft, you know, interior, which is exactly Ben Grimm. And I think he's honestly perfectly cast as the Thing. When I heard that he was going to be the Thing, I was like, you know what? Him as Ben Grimm, I can totally see it. So I'm really excited that he's going to be in this movie. I did hear that they're going to do motion capture for him as the Thing. And honestly, that'll probably be for the best, because the Thing is a very difficult character to do with practical effects. So it's honestly best to just do him with a mocap, you know, with CGI. That way he can fight the Hulk, if that ever happens. But if there's one thing consistent in all the Fantastic Four movies that has never been done perfectly well, to my opinion, it is Doctor Doom. This is one piece of advice that I have for this new Fantastic Four film. Do not have Doctor Doom be the villain. We have seen Doctor Doom as the villain. Build him up. Have him in the background. Have him be a character that we're building up to, presumably in Secret Wars, where he'll go against everyone. We don't need the Fantastic Four to just be fighting Doctor Doom the whole time. Have a different character. Have Annihilus. Have the Mole Man. Oh my god. The Mole Man would be so much fun. We've never really seen the Mole Man in a Fantastic Four movie, and he could be a great villain if he's written well. So don't blow your load with Doctor Doom. Keep it about the family and have a good story and have a different villain. And let Doctor Doom be the build-up. That's my only advice. Otherwise, this cast for the Fantastic Four, it looks great. I'm really excited to see what they do. I hope they all have good chemistry with each other. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the trailer, because the trailer is really going to give us a taste of what this is all going to be like. But the MCU seems to be moving in a better direction, so I'm a little bit more optimistic about where the Fantastic Four is going. But for the love of God, get the Fantastic Four right this time. And now I finally get to give my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. This is just going to be my thoughts on how the whole show has been progressing overall. The Netflix show, of course, the Daredevil Netflix show is a masterpiece. I loved all 3 seasons, even the second season, which is arguably the weakest one, but still, there's so much good stuff in there. Charlie Cox was born to play Matt Murdock. I loved Foggy and Karen, and there was just such great storytelling. So when I heard that Daredevil was finally coming back to the MCU as Charlie Cox, we saw him in No Way Home, which was so exciting. Then we saw him officially in She-Hulk, in the entire episode. Some people have mixed thoughts on that. I thought Charlie Cox did a great job. I thought it made perfect sense the way he was acting in that show. I didn't think that he was too different. And I thought that, since he'd been through all the trauma and all the issues of the Daredevil show, and we left him in a better place by the end of season 3, so it makes sense that he's in a lighter mood in She-Hulk. I didn't like the Walk of Shame. I thought that was a little too much. And I just don't like the gold and red suit for Daredevil. I know it works in the MCU, but I really just want to see him back in the full red. That's the costume that I really love. So, how did I feel about the initial direction of Daredevil Born Again? Well, when I started hearing that it's probably not going to be related to the Netflix show, I honestly lost interest. And I think a lot of other people did too. I love that Charlie Cox was coming back, and so was Vincent D'Onofrio, but there was apparently going to be no Karen and Foggy, and it was going to be completely disconnected, and I was not keen on that. The Netflix show is so good, why not use it? And to no surprise, given the state of where the MCU has been lately, when we eventually heard that Daredevil Born Again was going to be reshot because Kevin Feige saw the first 4 episodes and was like, nah, reshoot this is crap, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised to hear that apparently weren't gonna see Matt Murdock in the suit until episode 5. I mean, what? The show is called Daredevil. Anyways, so when they said that they were going to go back to the drawing board and reshoot everything, and that they were finally going to connect it to the Netflix show, oh, I was so happy. That is exactly what you need to do. Connect it to the Netflix show. Keep all the character arcs. Keep Karen and Foggy. And just naturally progress from there. And we have Karen and Foggy finally returning in those glorious set photos. I am so happy. Apparently they're not going to be in it all that much, but just knowing that they exist and that they are there for Matt is beautiful. So I'm so excited. And I'm really excited that Jon Bernthal's coming back as the Punisher. And he said that he originally didn't want to because he thought Disney was screwing up the Punisher. But now with this direction, he says he's happy with it. So that only tells me that they're doing the Punisher right. I don't know how violent the show is going to be based on that, but hopefully it'll be the same tone as the Netflix show. We have Bullseye coming back. Yes, we built him up so beautifully in season 3. We developed him, and now he's coming back as Bullseye. Those set photos, I am not entirely sure that is actually going to be the costume we see him in because it looks bad. I hope it's not. I hope he dons something very cool and reminiscent of the comic book version, but obviously a lot more tailored to the tone of the Netflix show. But I'm really glad that Kevin Feige has seen that Marvel has not been going in the best place and that we need to prioritize quality over quantity. And this new direction for Daredevil Born Again, connecting it to the Netflix show, I'm really excited. The Daredevil's new suit in this, I'm happy they're going back to the all red, but I feel like the red's just a little too bright in the set photos we've been seeing. Maybe it'll look better in the show, but yeah, from what I'm seeing in the photos and the set photos, I'm not really liking the look of it. But I am glad that it's fully red, and I want to see the DD insignia on his chest. That is a classic. Even the Ben Affleck movie knew that was something you had to have. So I really hope Charlie Cox gets to don the DD logo. As for the other Netflix shows, if Netflix Daredevil is canon, what else is canon? Is Jessica Jones canon? I really hope so, because I love Jessica Jones. Is Luke Cage canon? I thought his show was kind of, hot and cold. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good. But Mike Coulter was amazing in the role. I want to see him back as Luke Cage, and I want Kristen Ritter back as Jessica Jones. We are going to get Jon Bernthal back as a Punisher, but how much of the Punisher is canon? That's another question. And then we have the other elephant in the room. Finn Jones is Iron Fist. Is that worth making canon? I don't know. I thought Finn Jones was a lot better as Iron Fist Danny Rand in Season 2 of Luke Cage, and even though Season 2 of Iron Fist wasn't great, it was a step up, so maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't bother with Iron Fist, but I hope they bring back Iron Fist in some form, because he is an important character, and I feel like him and the Defenders, he's a great part of that team. But I'm really glad that Daredevil Netflix is canon. I know that it won't be fully canon. There'll be things that they sort of pick and choose. And, some things they might have to retool to fit the MCU a little better. Whatever they do, I'm just so glad that the Netflix show is finally a part of the MCU and that we are going to get more stories in the vein of that show. And I think Daredevil Born Again is going in a bold, new, more optimistic direction. And I am now super excited to see it. that's all I ever really wanted. I just want to be excited to see Charlie Cox back as Daredevil in that world. And I'm glad that that's what we're getting. So, right on. Let's see how good this is. I know we've been talking about two elephants in the room already, but this is by far the biggest elephant in the room. Madam Web. I'm going to keep this brief. I haven't seen Madam Web. I've seen clips of it online, and I have heard every review under the sun about what it's like. I'm not going to watch this in the theater, to be honest with you. I'm not. I didn't see Morbius in the theater. Still haven't seen Morbius, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'm not going to see this in the theater. Might watch it online just to see what it's like. Feel bad for the actors involved. I mean, Dakota Johnson is way more talented than this, as is Sydney Sweeney and pretty much all the other actors in there. I feel like they deserve better. And I don't think Madam Web is that interesting of a character to adapt fully. But she could be, but the movie does not look very good, in my opinion. And that seems to be the consensus. And that's it. And that is the very first episode of Geek of the Week. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me know in the comment section, what did you think of all the Super Bowl trailers? Did you like them? Do you think that they all look good? Were there other ones you feel like I could have covered in more depth? What do you think of the Fantastic Four cast? Was that the cast you were hoping for, or do you think it could have been done better? Daredevil Born Again. How is the news tracking for you? Do you think it's a good idea to connect it to the Netflix show? I think it's the only way to go about it. But hey, opinions are opinions. Let's hear them. Madam Web, I know what you think. You don't need to tell me. So yeah, if you like what you've seen here, like and subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Geek of the Week or in the next video. And as always, you stay classy, Internet.
Try to hide my true identity, but no one knows, it's only me.